Okay, so you want to open a gym. It sounds like one of the simplest businesses in the world. Buy some equipment, rent a big room, put mirrors on the wall, and charge people a monthly fee to walk in and use it. No inventory to restock, no perishable goods, no shipping costs, just people paying you every month to voluntarily suffer in front of a dumbbell rack. That's the pitch, and on paper, it looks like one of the most beautiful business models ever invented. A locked-in subscriber who pays you automatically whether they show up or not. That last part is the whole story, because the entire economics of a gym rest on a strange, slightly uncomfortable truth. The business works best when a huge number of your customers barely use the product they're paying for. Let's start from the beginning.
A gym is a real estate business wearing gym clothes. The single biggest line item before you sign a single member isn't equipment, it's the lease. You need somewhere between 5,000 and 40,000 square feet, depending on the format, in a location with enough parking and enough nearby population density to support a few thousand potential members within a short drive. Commercial space of that size in a decent location is not cheap, and unlike a small retail shop, you generally need a long lease, 5 to 10 years, because no landlord wants to build out plumbing, showers, and reinforced flooring for a tenant who might leave in 18 months. Then comes the equipment, and this is where the bill starts climbing fast. Cardio machines, treadmills, ellipticals, bikes typically need replacing every 5 to 7 years and can run anywhere from $25,000 to over $100,000 for a full set, depending on how many machines and how premium the brand. Strength equipment lasts longer, 7 to 10 years, but costs more up front, $30,000 to $150,000 for a serious selection of racks, machines, and free weights. Add flooring built to handle dropped barbells, locker rooms, showers, HVAC systems sized for a room full of people generating enormous amounts of body heat, and by the time you unlock the doors for your first member, you have already spent a small fortune on things that generate zero revenue until someone actually signs up. If you're going the franchise route instead of building independently, you're paying for the brand on top of everything else. Franchise fees, territory rights, and build-out requirements set by the franchisor add another layer of cost before you've served a single customer, in exchange for a name people already trust and a proven playbook for running the location.
Here is the part that makes gyms genuinely fascinating as a business, and it rarely gets said directly in gym marketing. A membership-based gym is not actually designed for everyone who signs up to use it regularly. It is designed for a manageable core of regulars, plus a much larger group of members who pay every month and rarely, if ever, walk through the door. This isn't a conspiracy, it's basic capacity math. A gym floor only fits so many people comfortably at once. If every single member who signed up actually came in 5 times a week, most gyms would be dangerously overcrowded within a month. So the entire pricing model, especially at the low-cost end of the market, is built around overselling capacity, the same principle an airline uses when it sells more seats than the plane has, betting that a predictable percentage of ticket holders won't show up. Industry-wide, gyms lose somewhere between 1/4 and 2/3 of their membership base every single year, depending on the format. Budget, high-volume gyms sit at the higher end of that range, sometimes losing around 1/3 of their members annually. The average member's total relationship with a gym lasts well under a year in a lot of markets, and yet the business keeps growing because the monthly fee for a member who visits twice a month is functionally the same on the books as the monthly fee for a member who visits 5 times a week. A member who forgets they're even still paying is, from a pure cash flow standpoint, the most profitable customer a low-cost gym can have. This is why the entire budget gym category can offer memberships for as little as $10 a month and still turn a healthy profit. It isn't a discount, it's a bet, calculated down to the decimal point on exactly how many of those members will actually show up. Membership dues are the floor, not the ceiling. On top of the monthly fee, the largest single revenue category across the industry, close to half of total health club revenue in many markets, comes from personal training. It works structurally like the retail concessions in an airport terminal. The gym takes a cut of every session, the trainer takes the rest, and packages are sold in bulk up front, locking in cash before a single session is delivered. A member who signs up for a 12-session training package has effectively prepaid the gym months of guaranteed revenue on top of their membership fee. Beyond training, there's a whole secondary economy. Group class add-ons, supplement and merchandise sales at the front desk, day passes and guest fees, childcare services, and increasingly, digital add-ons, app subscriptions and on-demand content that members pay for even on days they don't come in. None of these are individually huge, but stacked together, they can meaningfully change the margin on a location that otherwise looks identical to its competitor down the street. Here's where the dream runs into the same wall every subscription business eventually hits. The fixed costs of a gym do not care how many members show up on a given Tuesday. Rent is due regardless. HVAC has to keep an enormous open room at a comfortable temperature all day, every day for people actively generating heat through exercise. Insurance for a facility full of heavy iron, moving machinery, and members attempting deadlifts they probably shouldn't be attempting alone runs into the millions annually for a single location once liability, property, and workers' comp are all stacked together. Equipment doesn't just sit there either. It has to be maintained, repaired, and eventually replaced on that 5 to 10-year cycle. And buyers evaluating a gym for purchase price that replacement obligation directly into what they're willing to pay, because tired, broken equipment is one of the fastest ways to accelerate member churn. Staffing costs run around the clock, too. Front desk coverage, cleaning staff, trainers, class instructors, because a gym with a dirty locker room or a broken machine loses members faster than almost any other single factor. Cleanliness alone is one of the top reasons members cite for renewing or canceling. And then there's the cost that doesn't show up on a balance sheet, but shows up in every gym owner's growth plan. Acquiring a new member costs meaningfully more than keeping an existing one, often several times more once marketing spend is factored in. Every member who churns out isn't just lost revenue, it's a hole that has to be refilled with an expensive new customer acquisition just to stay flat. The clearest lesson in how gyms fail comes from the wave of bankruptcies that hit the industry hardest during 2020 when facilities were forced to shut their doors while the leases, insurance, and loan payments kept coming regardless. Several major U.S. chains filed for bankruptcy protection that year, not because the underlying business model was broken, but because the model has almost no ability to survive a period of zero revenue against fixed costs that don't pause. A gym that is empty for 2 months is functionally identical, cost-wise, to a gym that is full, except one of them is bringing in nothing. There's a second, quieter failure mode, too, the overbuilt premium gym in the wrong location. Just like an airport built on optimistic passenger projections that never materialized, a high-end gym chasing a luxury positioning in a market that can't actually support enough high-income members at that price point ends up with beautiful equipment, gorgeous finishes, and a membership base too thin to cover the lease. Location and pricing tier have to match the actual population around the building, not the aspirational one. At the other extreme sits the budget high-volume model, and it is genuinely one of the more remarkable margin stories in retail-adjacent business. By keeping monthly fees extremely low, these chains attract an enormous membership base, lean heavily on the overselling capacity math described earlier, and layer personal training and add-on revenue on top of a membership base that is individually paying very little, but collectively represents massive scale. At a large multi-location level, operators in this category have commanded some of the strongest valuation multiples in the entire fitness industry, reflecting just how predictable and cash-generative the model becomes once it's running at scale with low churn and high recurring revenue as a share of total sales. Boutique studios have found a different version of the same trick. Rather than optimizing for volume, they optimize for community and habit. Members who take a group class at least once a week churn dramatically less than members who work out alone, because the accountability of showing up for other people is a stickier retention mechanism than willpower alone ever was. That's why so much of the industry has shifted marketing dollars toward getting a new member into a class within their first month, the fitness equivalent of an airline trying to get a passenger enrolled in the loyalty program before their first flight even lands. The next phase of the industry is being shaped by two forces pulling in the same direction: data and community. Gyms are increasingly using visit frequency data to flag members who are quietly drifting toward cancellation weeks before they actually cancel, the same way a subscription software company tracks usage to predict churn before it happens. Wearables and fitness apps that sync with a gym's own ecosystem are being used less as a nice-to-have feature and more as a retention tool, because a member who logs their workouts and gets progress data is measurably more likely to renew. At the same time, the industry keeps splitting further into two extremes: ultra-low-cost, high-volume gyms that make their money on the overselling math, and boutique, high-touch studios that make their money on habit and community, charging far more per visit but keeping members for far longer. The middle ground, the mid-priced, generic gym with no clear identity, is exactly where the industry data shows margins getting squeezed the hardest, stuck without either the volume of the budget model or the loyalty of the boutique one. So if you're thinking about opening a gym, understand what you're actually buying into. Not a room full of equipment, a subscription business built on a very specific and slightly uncomfortable bet that most of the people paying you every month won't use what they're paying for often enough to strain your capacity, and that the ones who do show up regularly will be loyal enough or attached to a class or a trainer enough to keep paying anyway. Get that balance right, at the right price point, in the right location, and you own one of the most durable recurring revenue businesses on any main street in the country. Get it wrong, and you own a very expensive, very empty room.